there's a hidden disease, a toxicity, a poison within that structure of human supremacy that over time bubbles up, trickles up, becomes reality. And that is that if humans can have supremacy over all other people on the planet, then there can be supremacy structures within human supremacy, right? So we can start then creating from that top of the human pyramid, smaller little pyramids where certain humans are suddenly superior to other humans, right? And we know what happens after that. So not recognizing that the sum of whom are humans part of this is not only an invitation to start that slippery, toxic slope of supremacist thinking, but it kind of goes that way naturally, right? The minute we step out of the idea that somehow we're special, somehow there's an exceptionalism to humans, problems start, right? In a lot of ways. And it's certainly not the only influence and it's not the only solution, but I think it's a big part of the picture. That when we step out of those animist frameworks that are relationship and respect based, right? It's easy for us to do things that are toxic. Whereas if we maintain the sacredness of relationship, of equity, of being in connection with our community, it's very difficult to do things that cause the kind of harm that we've caused. So, some of whom are human. And then the last bit of Graham Harvey's definition, all of whom deserve respect. So the world is filled with people, some of whom are human, all of whom deserve respect. And this is the religious, ritual, cycle, expressive part of animism. This is where we define, now that we know kind of what animism is and how we think about it, how it changes our brains and our hearts, and how we walk through the world with a different kind of respect, what do we do about it? What do we do with that, right? Humans are ritualistic animals, so where's the ritual? And this is where it hides. All of whom deserve respect. We enter consciously into relationship with the people who share the world with us, who sit around our campfire. And these relationships are relationships of respect and taboo, okay? Every animistic culture in the world has many, many, many rituals, festivals, observances that bring us into deeper nourishment and cultivation of relationship with non-human beings, non-human persons. And they also have lists and lists of taboos, things not to do. Don't piss off the non-human spirits. They're stronger than us usually, right? I think about, over the years, all of the taboos of plant lore that I've collected from my Celtic ancestors from the Celtic Isles, what are now called the Celtic Isles. There's almost more don't do this than do this, right? When we think about fairy lore, the lore of the good folk, things not to do in order to ensure that your actions don't overpower or create toxicity in the life ways of other people. Respect, right? All of whom deserve respect. So this gets really deep, and it's a little beyond the scope of this class to get into that depth. But I want to say this. We don't necessarily have to relate with all of the people around our campfire, all the people within our world, right? There are humans that we don't really want to hang out with, and that's totally okay. Respect, though, isn't about who you want to be close, who you want to be within you. We don't get bit. Here where I live in the high desert, we have a lot of rattlesnakes, lots and lots of rattlesnakes, right? So far in my life, I have avoided being bitten by a rattlesnake because of respect. When I go hiking, when I go into the desert, when we go climb mountains, I'm aware that I am in someone else's home. I'm a visitor in a space that is very much inhospitable to me. I have to bring my backpack, my sunscreen, water, food, because none of those things are provided for me there. I'm in someone else's world, in someone else's space. I'm entering into the world of the rattlesnake, right? And by coming in with that respect, I recognize that my hike, my presence, the space I take up, is not more important than the home of the beings who live there all the time. So I walk carefully. I watch, I look, I listen. I'm mindful of where the snakes might be, knowing kind of where they like to hang out, what time of the day they come out, how they like to sunbathe. And that's respect, right? But that's an example of respect to keep someone away, right? I love to see them. They're beautiful. I consider it a great fortune to see a snake. You know, they hide. They're otherworldly beings in their own way. But I'm happy to see them from 10 or 20 feet away and continue on my way. So that's an apotropaic respect, right? It's respecting the space of another so they don't eat you, or they don't bite you, or they don't cause some trouble for you. And we have humans that way. We know humans in our life that are problematic, they're unreasonable. And so our respect to them of living as living persons is sometimes to just do what we need to do to keep them away, to just not get involved with them, not get tangled up with them, right? So I use this snake example because that is a very real example that would make sense to our ancestors. That some of the respect that we cultivate is a respect to keep ourselves safe, not to bring snakes in and be super cuddly with them and best friends. That totally could happen. It's great when it does for people, but that type of respect is more about staying safe, kind of keeping everybody at a safe distance. And then there's the kind of respect that we use in order to bring people in closer, right? Working closely with our plant allies, working closely with the land spirits, with our mighty dead, our ancestors, with other humans, our teachers, our students, and all of that. So that all of whom deserve respect is literal. Everyone deserves to be respected. How they're respected, there's quite a spectrum there, right? There's quite a spectrum of how we can respect somebody else and ourselves. And sometimes it's respect at a distance, and sometimes it's respect by bringing people into kinship, right? So a lot of people get hung up, especially with the Western non-animist mind, when we start having these conversations about respect and relationship, because as fiercely independent people, right, we immediately go to, I don't want to respect that person. I don't want to get involved with this person or that type of people or whatever. That's totally cool. No one's asking you to walk through the world being friends with everybody. But having respect where respect is due, and knowing when not to get involved and when not to take up space is important, right? It's important within the human world, within our people. And it's even more important when the human world spills over into the world of other people, the rattlesnake people, the indwelling spirits of rivers and lakes and clean water, the many, many countless spirits who indwell forests, right? When the respect isn't there, really bad things happen. And they don't always happen to us right away, but eventually, our actions come full circle. So we're seeing that now. If there was ever a time to have these very serious conversations about reawakening our animist perspective, now is it. We're kind of at a do or die place. And animism is a beautiful medicine that is not only enjoyable, not only helps us return to a world of magic and wonder and unknowing, which is a beautiful thing, it fixes stuff, fixes problems. So that is our definition. Animism, the world is filled with people, some of whom are human, all of whom deserve respect. As we move on, we're going to unpack this and look at animism as it specifically relates to the plant spirits that we work with. Human, non-human, other than human, more than human people. That's fun. We're going to get into ecology and equity and respect a little bit, and explore some of the practical expressions of animism. How can we embody animist magic and medicine in our own ways, where we are, when we are, who we are? So that's where we're going next.